The unforgettable, the mad, the comedy king Jim Carrey, the heartfelt painter. He is the king of physical comedy because, honestly, nobody can contort their face and body quite like him. In his daily interactions, it seems as though he transforms into whatever chaos is swirling in his mind that day. One moment he's like an average Joe, the next he's cracking a joke, or making strange sounds, and twisting his face into incredible shapes. He's the kind of guy who doesn't have an off button, and even when people aren't sure what he's doing, they can't look away. Sometimes with Jim Carrey, you honestly don't know if he's serious or just messing around. Well, that's the weird brilliance of him. He's goofy, loud, and completely unpredictable. But behind all this, he's smart. The man is extraordinary, and under that smile is a brain that's constantly testing the limits of how far he can push the world around him. Carrey's social presence has always been a little offbeat, and that's being generous. He doesn't mingle the way others do. He doesn't do press the way publicists would prefer, and he never seems interested in playing nice with Hollywood's unwritten rules. For some, it makes him magnetic. For others, it makes him dangerous. Either way, it makes him unforgettable. Do you remember the fashion event Jim Carrey casually strolled into? His entrance and demeanor were so unorthodox, blending normality and acting all awkward, and enjoying doing it. When the reporter asked what brought him here, he looked her dead in the eye and says, "I wanted to find the most meaningless events I could come to." But it was a few seconds afterwards where Jim really turned it up a notch. As a rebuttal, the reporter said they were celebrating icons at the event, and this response was awkward, especially for the reporter. The girl didn't even know how to react. The whole thing was so uncomfortable, so out of place, you didn't know if you should laugh or just look away. He wasn't trying to be weird, it was just one of those moments. He was being whatever he thought was left for himself, if anything, and that clip went viral. Not because it was funny, because it wasn't. It was awkward. It was confusing. But it was real. It was raw. It was Jim Carrey. But the opposite thing for everyone was to enjoy the awkwardness Jim was creating. You are in the presence of a celebrity you have not met before. Just enjoy the craziness they are bringing and build on it too if you are the type. Jim even gave her the chance to do so. Instead, she replies in the most boring and completely dull way possible. One of the earlier glimpses into Jim Carrey's madness, the kind of madness that borders on genius, was from his character, Fire Marshal Bill. His character was a walking catastrophe. Pale, rubbery skin stretched over a melted grin, teeth yellowed, eyes twitching, voice shrill and cracked like broken glass. Every time he appeared, he'd lurch into frame like something half dead and over-caffeinated, barking, "Let me tell you something," before launching into a completely deranged safety demonstration. And it always ended the same way: electrocution, explosions, or something catching fire. Usually Jim. But it wasn't about the chaos, it was about control within. Carrey had this uncanny ability to destroy himself on camera, and still held the scene in his hands. He pushed his body past its limits, distorted his face like it was made of clay, and never once broke character. The kind of physical, fearless commitment most actors would run from, and somehow, in the middle of all that madness, he found clarity. He made it art. Ugly, loud, brilliant art. And nobody else had the nerve to do it. But it's not just his body or his madness that made Jim Carrey unforgettable. It's how he's used fame not to fit in, but to tear it apart. You see it in his public appearances, the way he shows up to ruin them on purpose, like that night in '99. Jim rolls in looking like he's just stumbled out of a tour van in the 70s. Long, greasy wig, shaggy beard, sunglasses indoors, a beer like it's part of the costume. When he stepped on the stage, he dragged everyone's attention towards him, and when he started, his audience was dying with laughter. In 2016, the Golden Globes, he walks on stage grinning. "I'm a two-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey." The room laughs, and he waits, then leans in and says, "And when I go to sleep at night, I'm not just a guy going to sleep. I'm a two-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey, going to get some well-needed shut-eye, and when I dream of becoming a three-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey, because then I would be enough." And suddenly, the joke stops being funny, because everyone in that room knows what he's doing. He's not entertaining them, he's exposing them, calling out the emptiness behind the applause, The lie that more awards, more recognition, somehow means more worth. Jim doesn't break the fourth wall, he burns it down. In Man on the Moon, playing Andy Kaufman wasn't a role for him, it became a possession. He didn't drop character once, not between scenes, not at lunch, not even when the cameras were off. People were disturbed, and his director didn't always know who he was talking to. His co-stars felt like they were working with a ghost. Andy's actual family, they cried, laughed, argued, and sometimes couldn't tell if they were grieving or reliving. This wasn't method acting, this was something deeper, stranger. A man disappearing into someone else, and maybe not wanting to come back. Take the 1997 MTV Movie Awards. Alicia Silverstone walks on stage to present him with an award. Jim steps up, and without warning, he grabs her and kisses her on the mouth. No handshake, no cue, just a spontaneous, uncomfortable moment that caught her and the entire room off guard. The crowd roared with laughter and cheers back then. But years later, that clip resurfaced, and this time, people saw it differently. What once passed as eccentric charm was now clearly a violation of personal boundaries. Alicia looked visibly shocked, and Jim never apologized, never explained it. In the 90s, it got him applause. Today, it earns a hard pause, and maybe that silence, that lack of reflection, says more than any joke ever could. As if his acting wasn't raw enough, in 2018, Jim turned to painting, and he didn't hold back. What started as a private hobby exploded into a public canvas of political fury. His artwork was sharp, angry, and colorful. He posted portraits of politicians, painted as monsters. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was portrayed as a liar with devilish features. His Instagram became a war zone, and people on both sides took notice. Some called it courageous, others called it disgusting. But once again, Carrey didn't blink. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was using color as a form of protest and a way to scream without using his voice. And then, as if to remind the world that he is more than just the chaos he brings, he released a 6-minute short film titled I Need Color. No jokes, no impressions, just Jim, painting in his studio. He speaks softly. He talks about heartbreak, about loss, about needing beauty in a world that often feels like it's collapsing. It's vulnerable, gentle, and completely unexpected. The same man who used to shout nonsense on talk shows is suddenly whispering truths about healing and creation. So, what do you make of someone like Jim Carrey? He doesn't just crack jokes, he cracks mirrors, and sometimes he holds them up to your face and makes you see a reflection you don't want to see. Other times he throws them to the ground and dances on the shards. He'll kiss someone on stage without asking, then paint a portrait of political grief the next day. He'll scream one moment and sit in silence the next. He's erratic, unsettling, and often unfiltered, but there's nothing about him that isn't real. The laughter he gives you is raw, sometimes joyful, sometimes uncomfortable, but always unforgettable. Jim Carrey is not here to comfort you. He's here to wake you up. And whether he does that through a twisted grin, a whispered rant, or a painting soaked in pain, he'll make sure you feel it. But what are the key takeaways from all these scenarios of Jim? Firstly, Jim Carrey never plays it safe. Whether he's being absurd, awkward, or vulnerable, he shows up as he truly is. No filter. Therefore, the takeaway is stop wanting to be understood. Be real, even if it's messy. Secondly, he's a comedic genius who battles his own darkness and never hides it. Whether it's through performance, interviews, or painting, he channels pain into something honest and creative. So, you don't have to fix yourself before you can create. Use the chaos. Furthermore, Carrey refuses to be confined to one genre, whether it's comedy, drama, painting, or spiritual commentary. He allows himself to evolve, even if others don't understand it. Hence, you are allowed to outgrow your past, even if others won't let you. Fourthly, one of the most significant themes in Carrey's story is his deconstruction of celebrity culture. His Golden Globe monologue was not only humorous, but also profoundly existential. The takeaway here: validation, awards, and status will never truly make you feel enough. From Fire Marshal Bill to Andy Kaufman, Jim lives on the edge of what most would call too much, but that's where his genius lives. He breaks rules because he doesn't believe in them. What I mean is, sometimes the very thing people call crazy in you is your gift. Moreover, his short film, I Need Color, illustrates a man dominating a stadium by choosing stillness. That contrast resonates profoundly. What you learn is that quiet moments are just as powerful as your loud ones, so don't fear them. Jim Carrey is a comedian, actor, critic of fame, painter, poet, and philosopher, sometimes even a walking contradiction, yet he embraces all aspects of himself. The takeaway here is, don't confine yourself to a single identity. You are more than one role. Of course, there is a lot more depth and many other moments we wanted to highlight with more takeaways, but we will do so in another video. Until then, tell us what you think about Jim Carrey in the comments section below.